Welcome to the Life Unstoppable podcast. I am your host, Rochelle Crow. If this is your first time joining our podcast is a new podcast, and our goal is to help everyone live an unstoppable life in every area of their life. Just a little about me. I am a certified life coach. I'm an author. I'm a speaker and a podcast host now. But the purpose of this podcast, it was to just start helping people to live a life that's unstoppable in every area of their lives. We want everyone to be successful with everything they put their mind to. We want you to be unstoppable in your mindset, unstoppable in your finances, unstoppable in your businesses, unstoppable in your finances, unstoppable in your health. We are reaching every aspect of your life. We want you to be able to have that lifestyle that God designed you to have. So today's episode, we are going to discuss the topic that I feel resonates with a lot of people, and that's about trust, especially when trust has been broken by another person or a situation or whatever the case may be. We're going to talk about how do you mend it? How do you get that trust back? How do you get that relationship back after something has happened? And when we're talking about relationships, because of course trust, you're talking about with a relationship with someone. That can be a marriage, it can be someone you're dating, it can be a coworker, it can even be God. Because sometimes we have expectations that we set on God, and things that we want to see. And when we don't see those things, sometimes it can cause us to doubt God and not trust him. So, even building that trust back in that relationship with him. So we can use these techniques that we discussed today and everything about rebuilding our relationship, rebuilding trust with God as well. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So we're going to first, you need to be, when you're dealing with the loss of trust with a relationship with someone, you have to understand where the breach occurred, what actually happened. And it's important that you understand that sometimes when trust is shattered, it leaves a profound impact on that person or on you. So it's not just about the specific act that caused the breach, but also the emotional fallout, the betrayal, the lingering doubt of this person, or if I can trust again, and that person in any situation in my life. So we have to recognize the depth of this impact first before you can think about healing that relationship. So you have to think about, what was the hurt? Focus in on that hurt. Let's just say in a coworker, maybe there was a situation where a coworker maybe was untruthful about something that happened between the two of you, or treated you a certain way that you feel like, I can't trust them again. Understand what was the hurt. Where were you hurt? What caused the hurt? Why did the hurt affect you the way that it did? Do you think you can heal and trust that person again? This is all when you're trying to understand the breach, understand what happened. These are the things that you have to think about when it's coming to, can I trust that person again? Can I rebuild? And in most cases, well, I don't want to say in most cases, but in a lot of cases you can. It is about defining what that was that happened, what the breach was, why did it hurt me, why did it impact me the way that it did, and if I can get over it. And it may be that sometimes when you are getting over that relationship and you're trying to move on, you don't have the same relationship that you may have had before, but you can still have a relationship where there is some trust there. So let's understand the breach of it. What happened? Why did it happen? Why did it affect me the way that it did? And can I trust again? So that's what you have to focus on when you're thinking about the breach, what actually happened that caused the distrust. So you're going to focus there. And before you can move on, we have to think about what's the foundations, what it takes to repair that relationship. So you have in your mind the hurt that caused the distrust. You have in your mind why it impacted you the way that it did. And you have in your mind whether or not you can move on. So let's just say you've decided, okay, let's try to heal from this. Let's try to work this out. Let's try to move on. Let's see if we can build this relationship back. So then with the foundation, so when you're trying to rebuild trust, remember that it's a process. And it does not always happen overnight. A lot of times we want things to happen quickly for us. We want to be like, okay, I want to get over this. Let's move on. But sometimes it takes steps. It takes time to get over something. It takes time to heal. It takes time to build that process of trusting someone over again. It demands honesty. You have to be honest when you're trying to rebuild trust again. Both parties have to be honest. The party that was hurt has to be honest about their hurt, about the pain, about the impact of what happened, about the impact of the breach. The party that did the hurting has to understand, I caused this breach in our relationship. I caused this distrust in our relationship. Let me be honest about what I did and why I did it and how I can help you trust me again. It requires accountability. Everybody has to take accountability. Even the person that was hurt sometimes, some situations, even the person that was hurt, why did you allow certain things to take place that may have led to the distrust? Were there little signs along the way that showed you that this was leading down a bad path, or this was leading down to a point where I may not be able to trust you with this? Take accountability. And then there has to be consistent effort on both parties of making a change, to want to do better, to want to build the relationship back, to want to gain that trust back, or to trust again. You have to be consistent in what you do. You can't talk about it this week and say, okay, I'm going to do this, but then next week you don't do it. You don't continue to work on that relationship and work on building the trust back, or work on trusting. You have to be consistent if this is what you're going to do. That's why I said at the beginning, when you figure out what the breach is, you have to decide at that moment, do I feel like I want this relationship? Do I feel like I can trust this person again? If you make the decision to trust, then you got to go through the process. You have to go through the steps to rebuild and to repair that relationship. And you have to show up. You have to be consistent. If you don't show up and you aren't consistent, it's not going to work. But then, like I said, it's for both sides. If both parties need to come together and realize their part in this breach, they need to figure out what their parts will be in repairing and being truthful and being honest, and then be willing to do the process, willing to go through the process. And again, we have to remember that the process doesn't happen overnight. The process isn't going to just be today is one way and tomorrow, okay, we're back at it. No, the process takes time, because you're talking about trust. You're talking about something that was broken. And trust is a huge thing when it comes to relationships. You can't have a relationship with anyone if you don't trust them, at least not a real relationship, if you don't trust them. So both parties have to be willing to step up and do the process and do the work to repair the relationship. So let's talk about the strategies of restoration. The biggest thing to repairing the relationship is communication. You have to have an open and honest dialogue. That's very important. If you can't openly discuss what happened, how you're going to work things out, what our relationship is going to be like if we're going to have a relationship, is no point in you trying to go through the steps. You have to be open, and you have to be honest, and you have to communicate. You have to actively listen to the other party, not just listen to comment or listen to make a point or whatever, or to defend yourself. You have to actively listen to what the person is telling you, what the person is saying about what hurt them, what caused this distrust. You have to actively listen. You have to also express your feelings without blame. And a lot of times that is hard, to express yourself without feeling like you need to say, well, I did this because you did that. Or, well, when I noticed that you were saying whatever, such and such, then I decided. No, you have to express your feelings without blaming someone. Express that, this situation happened. I don't feel like I can trust you because you were not honest about what took place in our relationship. Therefore, I don't feel like I can trust you. Or whatever the case may be. But just feel like you have to make sure that you're expressing without blaming, and that's hard to do because you're hurt. And it's hard to not say, well, if you wouldn't have done this, then that wouldn't have happened. But the reality is you're hurt. And your trust with this person or this people or whatever is broken. The trust is broken. So express yourself and express your hurt and your pain. Just be honest. I'm hurt. This hurt me because we were good friends. And now the trust is gone. Even when you're talking to God, you can say, God, this hurt me because I thought you were going to open up this particular door for me. And this door didn't open up for me. It hurt me because you told me I can trust you. You told me, that you would never leave me nor forsake me. And in that moment, I felt alone. You can tell God that. You can say that. That's expressing your true feelings. Create a safe space for difficult conversations. When you're having these conversations, it's important that both sides feel that they can be safe and when they express themselves. So the person who maybe has caused the distrust, you have to be willing and open to hear what they have to say. The person that's hurt, you have to be willing to hear what they have to say. Their feelings are valid. Their reason for not trusting you is valid. You have to create that safe space where they feel like they can come to you and let you know exactly how they felt about the situation. And then the person who was hurt, you've got to be willing to hear their side as well. And sometimes we may feel hurt or we feel like we can't trust a person because they are being brutally honest with us. And you have to sit there and you have to hear their whole reasoning behind it as well. Like, did they do something or did they say something to you that you didn't like because they were so honest with you and you didn't like the way it came out, so you feel like you can't trust them? You have to be able to create a safe space for difficult conversations. People have to be able to feel that they can come to you and tell you the truth about your relationship and why the trust was breached, what happened, and how they truly feel. Also consider, when you're ready to sit down and have this conversation, the time that you're having it. Are both parties ready to truly sit down and discuss? Are both parties ready to truly sit down and be open and be honest? Sometimes the pain is just too new to real to discuss at that particular moment. Let people have their time. Let people have their time to get to the point of where they feel like they can honestly sit down and talk, where they honestly feel like they can tell you how they're hurting, why they don't trust you, what's going on. So pick a time that's convenient for both parties, where both parties will show up, because that's the key. You have to show up. You have to be ready to talk. You have to be ready to own and take responsibility. Again, with the co-communication, the main point is just actively listening to what the other person is saying. Actively hear what they are expressing so that you can work through it. And a lot of times, sometimes it's going to take you having a third party there. A lot of times when trust is broken to that point where you feel like, I don't know if I can continue in this relationship or if this relationship can be mended, you probably need a third person there. You probably shouldn't be doing this on your own, the two of you trying to come together, because a lot of times, especially because emotions are going to be high, feelings are going to be there, and it's going to be hard sometimes for you to hear what the other person has to say. So having that third party, a therapist, a life coach, a pastor, somebody that you feel that you can trust to be there in the midst, maybe your boss or your supervisor or whoever, another coworker, be there in the midst so you can have someone who can be neutral and help you work things out, to help you be able to actively hear what that person is saying. Because sometimes you'll have your guard up and you're ready to defend yourself and you're ready to fight for your emotion or what you feel is right or whatever. But having that third party there can help you, because you're trying to build the trust. And sometimes it's going to take someone else that you trust to be there to help you guys get to that point of where trust can be established. All right, accountability. When it comes to accountability, it's important to acknowledge the wrong and take responsibility for the pain that was caused. That's very important. You have to take responsibility for your part, the pain that you caused, the breach that caused this relationship to break down. It's not about making excuses, but understanding the impact of your actions. Don't go in making excuses. If you're the person that caused the breach in a relationship, don't go in making excuses as to why you did what you did or why you said what you said. Go in and take accountability. Yes, I overstepped here. Yes, I did whatever it is to break your heart or to hurt your feelings. Take accountability for what you've done. Don't make excuses. Understand the impact of your actions. Know your role of what happened in the breakdown of this relationship. And don't blame someone else for your actions. Don't say, I did this because you did that. Nope. We're taking accountability only for us. We're focusing in on what we did to cause the breakdown. I'm not focusing on what you did or what you didn't do. I'm focusing on what I did to cause the breakdown of this trust, to cause the breakdown and us not being where we should be or where we were. Take accountability. Focus in on what you've done. That's the key there with accountability. Focusing on what you've done to cause the breakdown. Be consistent, as we said earlier. It takes being consistent. Trust is rebuilt through consistent positive actions over time. It doesn't always happen overnight. Most of the time, it doesn't happen overnight. If trust is broken and a relationship has had a fallout because of it, it's not going to happen overnight where we're back at it. You're back trusting that person. You're back having the type of relationship that you've had before. That's not how it works. It's a process, and you have to be consistent. You have to show that person that I am trying. I will not hurt you in that way again on purpose. I am doing the work that it takes to build our relationship. I'm seeking the counseling. I'm seeking the therapy, or whatever the case may be. But I'm genuinely trying to work on our relationship. And so it's about you demonstrating reliability. You're demonstrating integrity. You're demonstrating a commitment to the change, a commitment to building this relationship back up, commitment to building your trust, to regaining your trust. And it's also for the person who was hurt, being consistent in not holding it over their heads, not constantly bringing up what happened, but constantly trying to figure out, okay, how can we move on? Yes, this happened, but how do we move on? But not always focusing in on what caused the distrust. Because if you're truly trying to get over the breach, and if you're truly trying to work on your relationship, bringing it up, focusing on what happened, is not going to heal. It's not going to help you build. So you have to be willing to do your part as well and start letting it go. Start forgiving. Start with forgiveness. Start with forgiving and moving past it. But you have to do your part as well and show up and be committed to the change. Be committed to the rebuilding and accepting what the other person is trying to do to show you that they want to build this relationship back. It takes patience. Like we said before, it doesn't happen overnight. Rebuilding trust is rarely a quick process. Like I said, you don't just rebuild trust overnight. It requires patience. It requires understanding and willingness to navigate the setbacks, because there are going to be times that you're just like, I can't do this. One of you may be like, I just can't do it. I can't continue on with this process of trying to regain trust. I can't. The hurt is too deep. That may be a setback for a day or two. That may be the thought pattern for like a day or two. You know that I can't do this. So you got to learn how to navigate, or be willing to navigate, the setbacks. When you're discussing what happened and the breakdown and the hurt, other things may come out that you didn't realize. There may be some underlying things that you don't even know about that can come out when you're going through this process. So be willing to navigate the setbacks. And also be willing to understand that sometimes when you're going through this, you may realize this is not the relationship for me. I don't need to rebuild this. And that's okay too. Because if it's a friendship that once you start going through the process, you start realizing, hey, this is not the relationship I need. I don't need that type of friend in my life. It's okay. And it's okay to say, I know that you're trying. I understand where you're coming from, but I just don't think our friendship will make it. I wish you nothing but the best. It's okay. You have to do what's best for you. So it's okay to, be willing to know that through this process, we may find out trust will never be there, that this relationship may have run its course. And so we need to end it. And sometimes that's hard when you have a coworker. If it's a coworker, you've got to learn how to work together. But just know that relationship may not be the same. But I can work with you. I can be cordial to you. I can work in an environment with you. But we won't be friends. We won't be on that type of level anymore. It's just, you have to think about when it comes to a trust being broken, you have to truly think about and pray about. I suggest praying about the relationship as a whole. God, do you want me to restore this relationship? Do you want me to have a different type of relationship? Because it may be that God allows you to have a relationship, but that may not be as deep as the one that it was before, the way that it was before. So then you seek God to see, how do you want this relationship to be? How do you want, is this relationship serving you and serving me and serving the other person? Because it may not be a relationship God wants you to restore. But he does want you to deal with the hurt. He wants you to deal with what took place, and you guys do still need to talk about it. It's important to have that open communication about what happened if you have the opportunity to discuss what happened and lay it all out there and be honest about the emotional, honest about the pain, accept the accountability. But then it's okay to say, and we can move on. We can go our separate ways and live a peaceful, separate life. And you can rebuild. There are relationships that can be rebuilt. I don't want you to think that I'm saying not to rebuild a relationship. You can rebuild that relationship. And you can have a relationship that was broken, but trust was rebuilt. And it may be a different relationship. It may be a relationship for the better, actually, sometimes. But that can happen. You can heal and rebuild and trust again. And sometimes it takes going through that process of with someone to make sure another relationship. So let's just say you're on a job and then something happened to you on a job where you don't feel like you can trust anyone. Like you just feel like everyone is against you on that job. Well, you can go to another job and you can learn your lessons from what happened to you before. But you have to be willing to go through the process still of healing and learning to trust again. But you can. Because it'll be a different relationship. A different situation. So trust can be rebuilt in relationships. And you can have better relationships from the fallout. So some actionable steps. Self-reflection. Understand your role in the breach and what you need to do to make amends. Recognizing your part, being honest about your part, and doing the work. Apologize. We talked about it, a genuine apology. That acknowledges the pain that was caused without justification. When you apologize, you're recognizing the pain that you caused, but you don't justify it. That's a real apology. Show empathy. Try to understand the other person's perspective and feelings. It's important when you're trying to build this relationship back up, or when you're trying to get over this hurt and you're trying to build trust. It's important to understand the other person's perspective and their feelings. Make amends. Take concrete steps to repair the damage. That's putting in the work. You figure out what that looks like for your relationship to build that trust back, but put in the work and make amends. Set new boundaries. You have to establish clear expectations for future interactions. Set those boundaries. Okay, this breach has happened. How do we not allow this to happen again? Set the boundaries of what you will and will not accept. Be clear. Make sure both parties understand, and both parties, it's clear to both parties. These are the expectations. These are the boundaries, and we won't cross them. You have to be clear. And again, as I said before, seek professional help. If you feel like you need counseling, if you feel like you need a therapist, a life coach, or whoever to facilitate the process, please get that third party. Please get someone that can help mediate the situation so that you can get through it, that you can heal, trust can happen, and this relationship can rebuild. Rebuilding trust is one of the most challenging yet rewarding journeys in life. It requires courage, vulnerability, and a deep commitment to healing. We hope that this episode provides valuable insights and encourage you on your path to retrusting, to restoring trust again. We always like to end our episodes with thoughts of encouragement. No matter what you may go through, remember you are not alone. We are here to help in any way that we can. If you need help finding a therapist, a life coach, we can help. Of course, I always mention that I am a life coach. I am here to help, but I also know other life coaches. I also know a lot of therapists. Depending on what your needs are, we can get you to help. But we always want you to be able to live that unstoppable life. We want you healed. We want you whole. We want you to be able to trust again. We want you to have great relationships and rebuild some relationships that have lost trust. We know there are different situations that come up that breaks the trust in a relationship. We're not making light of that. But we want you to be able to either move on from that relationship, but to get your healing from it. That's the main thing, that you received your healing from whatever happened, the hurt, the distrust, whatever happened in any relationship that you may have. You need to have healing from it and to be able to move on whichever direction that moving on looks like. Whatever that looks like for you. But the important part is that you heal from it. We are here to help you as always. We're always here. If you would like to share your own story about trust, if you would like to share anything, any topics or anything that you would like to share, you can reach out to us. You can email us at rhcrow@marriageunstoppable.com. You can go to our website, lifeunstoppable.com. You can find us on Instagram at marriageunstop1. That's MARRIAGEUNSTOP1. You can find us at YouTube at Rochelle Crow 778, and that's RACHELLCROWE 778. We want this episode to bring you closer to living an unstoppable life. And in any way that we can help you to live that unstoppable life, we're here to help. Trust is a big thing. And it's not easy to get over hurt. We know that. It's not easy. We've had disappointments. We've had loss that cause us to distrust people. But the main thing is that we've gotten over it. We go through our healing process. Yes, we may have to cry. Yes, we may have to have a little fit. Yes, we may have to just talk it out, whatever the case may be. But at the end of the day, we want you to be able to be healed, and we want you to be able to live a life that's thriving. As always, thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you next time. Love you guys for real. Peace.